instead of getting better, it got worse. Because to be very honest, people felt where I was, they were not sure I was going to make it back. They were not sure. Depression wants to separate you from people. It wants you for itself. And the moment it gets hold of you, it says to you, kill yourself, it's the end.
You gave birth, you delivered, then do you have an idea of what he looked like?
I've seen the face when they brought him for me to see him for the final time. At that time, I don't even think I reacted. I was numb. I was now trying to hold it down for myself. You know what? I'm going to go into be strong.
Let me just start off by saying thank you very much for doing this, for having this conversation. It's not an easy conversation to have. I can only imagine for you, but for me as well, right?
Yeah.
And, I know normally the expectation is as you grow up, I think a lot of us just want to have kids.
Yeah.
And the expectation is, when I'm this age, and then when I'm this age, I know when I was growing up, I knew I was going to have I was going to have my first child till 24, and then the second one at 26, and then the third one at 28. By the time but it doesn't always turn out like that for a lot of women. And this is why I'm grateful that you're here to have this conversation about your journey, eventually losing a child. So I want you to perhaps just start with, growing up, what your dream for motherhood was, you know what I mean? And your journey to motherhood. How was that? They never really want to have kids. And then, bam, she's pregnant, she becomes a mother, you know what I mean? So what was that like for you?
Okay, for me, it was different. Like, I never dreamt of having a child before 30. Okay. I don't want to lie. And I think throughout the time, then I didn't realize it's hard for me to conceive.
Because you're not trying.
Me, I wasn't trying. And at the same time, I felt like, no, since so that hard. So, and again, I think, because when I was growing up, my mom believed so much in me. Hey, so much that I didn't believe in just an average man. I knew so I delayed having a child. No, I haven't found the right guy. So when I started trying now, that's when I realized, I have a problem. Not necessarily I have a problem that I can't conceive, but it was taking long. You understand? So by the time imagine a lot of things of how it's going to be. I named my son Temana, by the way.
Temana.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
wow.
was
what inspired that?
Because maybe I'm a spiritual person. So I felt it has to come from the Bible. But then I didn't want Boyo, David, and
Peter,
Abraham. No.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to get something out of the Bible, but from a very different context. So I said,
I like that.
Temana.
I just got inspired.
Yeah. Yeah. So I called him Temana, and I've known the name before. This is the name for my son.
Even before you conceived.
Yeah. So later time, when I would go to churches and then they would prophesy and say, you're carrying a girl. To me, I knew I'm carrying a boy.
Just tell her.
Yeah. I just knew I'm carrying a boy because I wanted to have a boy first. So I knew I'm carrying a boy. Even when they're saying you're carrying a girl. So at some point, they convinced me it's a girl. But then I'm like, but it has to be a boy. So when I gave birth, it's a boy. And I named him Timon. So by the time, all this time I had imagined, re setse a le godile, kore ne ke setse ke plana
Gore ne le ngwana o
ke setse ke mmatla no setse re lwela gore yena o batla ditlhako tsa Nike, o batla Air Force, kore setse e le mo e sa tlhole le mo le ga bo gore kore ke feel gore wa go ntha rena kore ke lebella teenagers how they grow up, and you know, my friends had they got teenage I think they were pregnant at a very early age.
Oh, so by
teenage
that time they already
pregnancy.
had. Oh,
So
okay.
from that time, I was a support system. Kore all my friends, I never lost contact with any one of them, especially back in school. So I was always there for them, and I enjoyed how they raised bana ba bone and all of that. So I liked that. You understand? So I had envisioned how mine is going to turn out. Gore it's around all these arguments and all of that, but it wasn't that. Yeah.
But how was your pregnancy? You know, of course, the women go to pregnancy it's about in different ways. You know what I mean? Go na le ba e leng gore ba tshabelwa ke body sickness. Go na le ba e leng gore like literally they do not even for a day feel like they're pregnant. So how was it, your pregnancy? Like, was it easy? Was it hard? Was it complicated?
I think it was hard because I coincidentally ke le motona at 35, right? And then I had pregnancy at the from 4 months. Maoto a rurugile, and I was struggling to bath myself. Kore ne ke le bokete e sa gola no e tletse mo go nna ke utlwa re ka ikimela e tletse hela ke utlwa re pitlaganye, you know, before it started to so and then at 4 months ne ke sena le theka kore no setse ke but then maoto a ruga sala a rurugile one from 4 months to like even today I can't wear most of the shoes that I had before then because I never recover back to the exact.
Apparently that happens. Size 3, size 5.
So I had that problem. So Mihela, I had a great pregnancy because I had a great and supportive partner. And he would bath me because I struggle. Yeah, no. The most difficult part was that. Yeah, the most difficult part was that. Ha se nkimela sentle. Ne ke gore ha ke tsoga mo bolaong. Ha ke batla go tena, like ke batla go iphetsola. I have to come out of the bed. Ebe ke dikolo gapile gore ke face the other side. Gore ke sa kgone go tena yana.
Things that pregnant women go through first.
Wa bana gape ke sumang ka re ke kgomo gore ai o tsere ke gore ke itlhodia. Wa bana ke filela gore ai o tsere ke it was that, but gape hela because I was pregnant at an older age ne ke na le bothata ba di pain hela gore go bokete wa bana, but yeah. Mihela, throughout my checkups, they were saying, no, you're okay. The child is okay. Everything is okay.
Okay. And what kind of delivery did you eventually have? Was it, you know, a natural birth? Was it a C-section? Scheduled? Kana, that's just the nice thing about no, ke scheduled. 23, you know what I mean? So like in your case, you know, what did that look like?
It ended up a C-section because they wanted me to give birth naturally. Yeah, as it's a norm.
Yeah.
But then I was in labor pains for like 2 days. That's 48 hours. I was in labor. And at that time, my BP was very high. So I think the delay here, by the time Bariki Pushongwan, I was already tired because of BP and happy had BP gradually. So I ended up a ban Russia to theater last minute when Babana isn't coming. And then I got to theater, I delivered, obviously, guess it's section I got. And then, yeah, the child was with them. Then I was taken back. And then the following day, when I gained my consciousness, that's when I started asking, okay, ngwana o ka and then.
So after the C-section, like immediately when you gave birth, ga ba go mmontsha, okay.
Ke mmone from
Hela hal.
the when, because immediately doctor and nurses mo attendile ba, what is the problem? But at that time, now I'm not panicking. I'm like, no, my child is okay. I held on.
You waited for this child. You prayed for this child.
I held on till the following day. Anong ke simola go nna in that case. Or ke batla ngwana until the following morning, and then now they can. I won't say the following morning because I lost track with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because I think at the time I wasn't really functioning well.
Also, can I just ask, was your, okay, of course you had the 48-hour labor and then eventually emergency C-section. Did you have complications after your surgery? Because C-section and then within a few hours, she's up and, but from what you're saying, it's almost like overnight and then, when I see me here this whole time,
at that time, ke botsa gore ngwana o ka ile nna go le thata mo go nna. Gore ke botsa ela because ke batla gore ngwana ba bapile. But at that time, it's hard. I can't even lift my hand. I can't do anything. I can't go bua molomo hela, So instead of getting better, it got worse. It got worse to a point where ha ke sana ke breakelwa di news tsa gore ngwana has passed on. I had to remain in the hospital because I wasn't okay. My operation wasn't done well. I don't know what was the problem.
Yeah,
they
you're not
said
healing
it
well.
had an infection, so it was oozing, and they had to come to a point where they said, we need to take you back to theater because we don't know now what's going on. I've gone through tests. They were doing all types of tests. Basa kgone go bua gore where's the problem. But I think nail infection because ngwana had distressed gongwe leswe ne le sa tswa lotlhe when they were cleaning. So gore a re go hella go nna dintho gone ha operation lining, and then it's oozing e thologa ne o kgona go tshologa ke e bona ke ema ka dinao yana, and e thologa ha ke setse ke simola go kgona go ema because it was really, really hard. So and then they were like, no, we now need to take you for a second operation.
Be here.
Yeah.
And this is all happening when now you've lost your child. I want you to take me back, right? First of all, the one thing I'm wondering, Wari, you gave birth, you delivered, then ba you pass out, you are sedated. Do you remember, were you able to see his face? Like, do you have an idea of what he looked like? I've
seen the face when they brought him for me to see him for the final time.
Tell me about that. So you mentioned the fact that you kept asking, "Wano guy," right? Wano guy, and what are they saying to you in that moment?
No, no, since I attend you, no, what.
And then, at what point do they decide to tell you?
I think that's 24 hours later.
I don't even want to ask you what your reaction was like, because
at that time, I don't even think I reacted. I was numb. I don't think I reacted. I stayed there. I was now trying to hold it down for myself. You know what? I'm going to go and to be strong. I need to be strong.
For yourself?
Yes, because I was in pain. My whole body was in pain. My BP was high. My heartbeat was uncontrollable. Kore it was just there. Kore that time was, I don't know how I pulled through. I don't. It was bad.
So what you're telling me is that you then were taken back to theater, right? You have complications that, arose from the surgery. Ngwana o tlhokahetse, ngwana o tshwanetse gore a bolokwe. What then happens if you are still in hospital?
They had to go on with their burial procedures in my absence because
When
I wasn't fit to be there. I needed Korean when they were like, we need to save this one.
Yeah.
So I was there, and at that point, then I'm wondering for my child, okay, one, all of that.
And this is Anta Atlakafet.
So I'm there the whole time, and it's getting bad. It's getting worse and worse. So at that time, I'm holding on to prayer strongly because it's like I was carrying a 50 kgs man. It was.
So even heavier than you felt when you were pregnant.
Hey, and I don't know why and then eventually I go home. That's after a month again. I go home. When I get home, batsadi ba tshwanetse ba mpontshe gore ba hitlile ngwana and all of that. And then I break down sesha, and I'm still weak at that time. Ke ile lapeng ke ntse ke lwala tota. Ne ke lwala mo e leng gore ne ke phampariwa even. It was that bad. Ne ke sa kgone go. So now we ka bontshiwa ga ngwana teng, and it breaks my heart. And yeah, so now ke ganela mo roomong gore nya ke motsetsi ke re na to me ke motsetsi wa bona ngwana o ke na le ene mo roomong ena ke batla go tswela ko ntle ko re la go teng ya tswanyana o itshedile. And I'm thinking can that ngwana, you understand?
And are you imagining this baby kante ke hela kgang ya gore presence ya gago?
Yeah, I felt o teng gore I wasn't gongone a ke tsorane ke gana go dumela or I don't know. I think I wasn't gongone ke sa accept, but I wasn't aware. But nna ne ke feel gore ngwana o teng and I have to stay there with him. Ha o sa tshujwele mo ne bosigo kana go nna le tiki tshwanetse re ke tswe ke tsore ngwana ka na mo leheng kore all this time. And and when I say some of these things, ko lapeng ba tlo go nteba and wonder, and it goes on and on until now I get to a point where one night I'm just sleeping, and then ka tsoga kore ke tsogile ka go phadimoga, and then ha ke tsoga ke utlwa gore no yaanong I lost it. I'm running out ke apola ke latlha dilwana kore luckily I don't know gore my sister utlweleng ka speed a be bile a utlwa gore ke tsogile nako ke lotlola lebati ko pele bile ke dule ka lebati ke a sia ke a kua
wa re wa kae
ke a sia ke bona gore it's the end. I wanna say I don't know why I'm still here. So that time ha ke sia ke kua ba ntshwara ba mbusetsa mo ntlong. That time I don't know what was happening. My hand, this one, wasn't working. Nearly ha ke tsore no, not le nam le lusitse ke sa le laole le rana I got it ka ngwe thantse mo go lona. So that so I'm thinking ke go tshela ka le bogola me ke sa le laole, and that time there's just a lot of things going on in my mind.
Are you
Or
thinking of your
no,
baby in this moment? Can they?
I'm just, it's not about the baby anymore. It's just the end of the world for me. It's everything has ended. Keep it on, why am I here? Who are these people? What are they doing? It's a king. At that moment. So my aunt comes, ba go mo tsaya kwa ga gagwe bosigo wa tla, ba mpotsa what's going on, kare. No, it's the end for me. So the next, then we go to the hospital. I'm running up and down the whole time. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I'm just not there. I think at first they took it casual. They're not getting it until now. Ba simolola ba nkenta, and then I'm able to calm down slowly. Go le thata tota. Go le thata because that time ke kgona go utlwa gore tlhaloganyo ya me e ko lehatshe la yone hela. Le nna I'm there, hey, ha ke itse batho ba ntshosa. Hey, ha ke itse gore gate go iragalang. And then we stay, ne? Yaanong ke simololang ke teng mokento ele ya go khotsa kere. Ebe ke simolola therapy session, psychologist. Ke ya counseling. So I get counseling, but I'm still going through a very hard time. I'm grieving, I'm sharing my pain, and every time ke re ke a bua, and then it got to a point where ke simolola go bolelela ngaka gore o itse gore keng, ga o itse la le so bang ka you've never ebile go tlhelela gona la le so ka sempola ke lo a bolwa ke depression wena. You know what, o itse gore keng, o ke lo latlhegelwa ke ngwana re ke latlhegelwa ke ngwana, then you can't talk to me.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we need to take you to a psychiatrist now. And then I got there, enroll into a medication. And then I go to the hospital now. They're like, we get to the hospital. Now it's the issue is now mental. And now they're saying you should have been long admitted. It's
Habari long bara from the point you possibly lost your child? Or are they talking about even before that? Are they talking about now after losing your child?
Okay. I don't know if it's before. No. I won't say before I lost the child. I think they meant the period when I had the first episode. I had the first episode when So from that time, it was building up. Wow. That's the time I should have been admitted and be dealt with immediately.
Okay,
But then that time now, it's building up. Anger, massive now. I'm very angry. I'm very, very angry at that point.
Angry
I get it. So, I think the loss made me an angry person. I'm just there and I'm angry. And how as a doctor and you're holding papers. It's either or I'm just gonna throw them away because how is to experience what I experienced? What are you going to talk about that you don't know? But they're there to help me at the same time, to try and bring me, to try and calm me down. So they diagnosed me with borderline depression. At that time, I was angry because I didn't know that. I didn't value life. I didn't care. I just didn't care.
And what's your relationship with God like in that moment? I remember speaking about even when you're pregnant, you'd get prophesized. You talk about when you're in the hospital, what took you through or what sort of helped you through your hospital stay was prayer. So it says to me you're a prayer warrior. It says to me you're solid in your spirituality. How is your spirituality in this moment? You are mad. what are your conversations with God? Ora Modimo o mo
At that
nakong eo.
time, I don't know. At that time, it was now a mental issue. You don't even know.
Gore wa reng,
Gore
gore-
worrying. You don't. You lose touch with reality. Gore there's nothing. Gore ne ke sa tlhole ke excited ke sepe, ne ke sa tlhole ke kgatlhwa ke sepe, ne ke sa tlhole ke anong ke simolola go tshaba dilo. Le ha ke tswela ko ntle, ke bona nkare maru a wa. And ke a tshaba. Gape ha ke re ke tsena mo koloing, gone ano ha ke re ke mo koloing ka ra tsena mo matlhong, ke bona gore a tsene mo koloing. So that time ke tshaba go drive, I can't. And le bone to a point where they say, you are not allowed to drive. You are not allowed to. Kore anong ba ntsaya ka motho e leng gore ha ka ka ikarabela in anything. Because now, kore ke simolola yanong ke tsamaisiwa step by step. I had some activity forms where I needed to feel gore today ke kgone go tlhapa. Today ke kgone go tswa ke boha semausu. And for a very long time, it was very difficult for me go tswa hela ke ha tech shopong. Ke ne ke tshaba tota ke feel gore maru a nkwele. Kore gape ke a bona wa literally gore mme wa kae when people are just sitting outside. Nna ke bona maru a wa ke tshabela ke nna mo ntlong, ke nna mo ntlong hela mo khoneng ya couch hela. That's it. And I don't want to see ko ntle gore go irala because go a ntshosa. So the whole time I'm in that space. Le metsi ke tshaba go tsena mo metsing. Gore ha ke akanya go tlhapa ka re metsi a tla ntsa. You know, ke a tshaba. So now I get to realize why people that are mentally challenged ba tshaba metsi. A tshosa bona molapo. Kore wena ya ha le manyenyanenyana alo. Mo go wena ke molapo. So ne ke a tshaba. Ne ke a tshaba. So, and then again, kore gape kore go tla ke tlelwa ke gore gape go tlhapa ga go important. Wa bona people are just, I don't know why they are crazy thinking ba botlhalenyana ba ntse ba tlhapa. Kore then it gets to that and like I say ikama, it's fine for me. Wa bona. And I feel everyone else around me is stupid, but they think ba botlhale. Wa bona.
Please tell me, you mentioned that during your pregnancy, you had a very supportive partner. Gore it's one of the highlights of the pregnancy. No tlhokomelwa, no tlhapisiwa, So I'm only imagining where now your partner is after this. Because also when you think about it, you've both lost a son, right? Where was he now in all of this?
Nah, go bua bonnete, throughout my mental challenges, he was there. He was there and it was difficult, but he was there. It got worse now when I would take out engamore nana le bana. Wa bona. So I felt whenever now you don't feel anything. Wa bona, so unna victim yanong of my stress taking out things on him. But I think I somehow pushed him away.
Yeah.
He just stood the test of time. Throughout the time, he was there. Le ha re ke tla go re tla re kgaogana ke setse ke recoverile like ke se fully recovered, but I was myself. I was back at myself. I could speak sense. I could reason. I could go out. I could doing because I had been through the exercise just step by step where I could not even go out. Where I could not.
Yeah.
But there came a time where I'd say, oh, today I managed to go out for lunch with my boyfriend. Go nna botoka. Go nna botoka yalo. So it was step by step. Me, I went through different phases from that to now anger. Now ha ke recoverile from I'm practicing to start getting back to people, getting back to interacting and doing the things that I used to do and enjoy. And there's that time when I wasn't enjoying them anymore and I didn't even care about anything. And then I had to practice to do them. And then now, when I'm now back at it, I'm angry. Because I'm angry that people are anger at me. Le motho hela gona na ene nka mosuga go re ene bile hanga ke ka anticipe wa go re gona na my aim ke terena gore yone hanga e tshwara ke a go e gasa ga boronotlhe go re ke tlo go e gasa and gape ha ke tsore why at that point I'm thinking my target ke terena ela gore ke batla go ya maela pele ga yone and you know what ke tlo kgagola mo eleng gore. And
I think it just speaks to the magnitude of your anger. Kore, like where you wanted the most powerful force.
Yeah.
You know, and we feel like kore, no matter how powerful this force is, not against me. I think it just speaks to the fury inside of you.
It's either ya go scatterizing ka tumelo or naka diatla tsame ha ke tshwara ga go senyega. And I look back and wonder.
I'm sorry for laughing, but you know, I think it's just the way you narrated that has so much humor. No, but honestly, when I scatter,
I was very angry. Tota. My other sessions were very challenging. Very, very challenging that therapists had to deal with a lot. In terms of they had to explain why they would tell me by the experience and they don't know what they're talking about, you know, or I'll just be angry whatever is in front of me.
So at what point did you now feel you are back to your old self, right? Past the anger, you know, and of course I can imagine, I think from a place of loss, we can never say, this is your child, you know, you lost. And I would like to believe you literally felt like a piece of you went with him. But maybe, like you said, recovery, what did it look like? How did you get to a point during, wow,
it took many years. I don't know if I'm healed right now. Or I've just felt like I've done this. I'm done with this. I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't know. What is it that? Because my last session was like, should be almost 2 months now. That was my last session where I wasn't crying for the first time since I started therapy like 6-7 years ago. I wasn't crying for the first time. I wasn't crying. And I was like, you know what? It's okay.
It is well.
Yeah, it's fine.
And what is your relationship with God like now? How, because I know for me, you know, it really, especially when you're grieving, right? It challenges your relationship with God. I know I had to reach a point where I had to consciously start mending my relationship with God. I want to start looking at God differently, not as somebody who stole from me, not as somebody who right? Because you can't help but have the why me syndrome for a while, right? But so I had to be very conscious at some point to say, I need to rewire my perception of who God is, because I think I need God in my corner. This place here, I hate you. So I need God in my corner. So I want to know what that process was for you. And are you at a point where you are friends again with God? And what is your relationship with God like? Are you back at church? Are you able to see God as Mudimo Ole Rato? You know, how is that working out right now?
Hey, I've been through many phases. I've been the most, even local like being bad, I'm the most prayerful person they ever met. But there came a point where I wasn't prayerful anymore. I couldn't even utter a word. I couldn't say anything, I would want to pray and words would not come out. Or I would try praying, or I would, for some, well, between then, I get there was that time when I had lost a child and then I was standing up for me. You know what, I need to fight this. And then all of a sudden it stops because now my mental health has been affected. And then I don't know what is happening at that time. I don't know who to refer to, who am I supposed to speak to. And then, well, in my recovery, I begin to regain my consciousness for there is God. I need to do this. I need to start talking back to God. I need to come back to myself. But it's been a process because there's been a gap of many years in between where I wasn't prayerful, where I wasn't, not because now I don't know God or I don't know about God, but hela ya nong le my spiritual life is a misile ko tlase. And then at least from the past year, I tried to come back, but I'm starting afresh. It's something that I'm really
building.
Yes. And I wanted to like try and say to myself, you know what? I know I wanted the child. At some point, I was blaming God. At some point, I didn't know what was what. But I've come to a point where I say, this was for a reason. This is my ministry. Maybe I need to say something to someone. Maybe I need to save someone. So I started really that issue ya gore it's about me. God was doing it to hurt me. The issue ya gore he took me through this to learn something. Because to be very honest, people felt where I was, they were not sure I was gonna make it back. They were not sure. Even myself, I wasn't sure I'm gonna make it back because I saw myself. And some of my sessions, I would ask my doctors, am I gonna be okay? And they're like, yes, you are, but these people it's not gonna happen. Because okay, but I'm not okay. Yeah. So I now am conscious of things that I can do or things that can trigger my depression or that can take me back to. So I try and avoid them. It's not easy. Sometimes I'm triggered by things that I never imagined. But most of the time I try and, avoid things that I know are not okay for me. Because like, for instance, when we went to the mine that we visited, I could not go underground because I know I have a problem here. When I was suffering depression, it was like ke splitile. Body is there, mind is there. Every time I was trying to say, but I'm here. But I feel I'm not here.
It's like an out of body experience.
It's like I'm talking to you really. And I'm trying to bring myself to the surface. So I battled a lot of things. So I'm trying to know this I can't do. This I can do.
So going underground, go mining was one of those that you knew would trigger that feeling. Helplessness. I'm in a dark place. I'm,
So I try and avoid things like that.
Now, I think your story is so powerful in that and I think what maybe we don't realize is that it's a representation of a lot of people who have gone through this, but are suffering in their very lonely, isolated corners because this is not spoken about enough, right? These are things that, we keep to ourselves. Of course, from a place of protecting you, right? So I can only imagine there's somebody who's listening, who's either going through a similar situation or has gone through a similar situation or why I feel like I can relate with what she's saying.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people?
That's depression. Yeah. That's depression. The moment you... depression is a very small... It could it can start as o tshaba dionyana, but o botsa gore gongwe ke go tshaba hela. It can start as ha ke sure nka go fa sekai se se ntsang. So gompieno I'm very much aware of what is depression, in the sense that how mpolelang ke a tlola gore yo tlhamayanga ke eng already, because ke khona go bona gore
you're able to pick the signs.
Go tlo go nna worse one when you think it's just something that you can deal with. Wa bona? Because it's not only emotional as people think. It's mental. It's mental.
Yeah.
And you'll be lucky to make it. That's why I'm saying issue ya gore be ke bona ke go training. Said to me, that's why batho ba bolwa ke diterene.
It's not always gore motho ba re ke batla gore terene e tleng kgale.
That's why batho ba re o khotse botshelo a ipela, and I'm like, oh no, it's not that. It's not that. We look believing, you know what, I'm the most powerful person at this moment, because it separates you from reality. You are in your own world. You look at things your own way. And I'm thinking, now and rest. So now looking back, I recall when I was growing up, we had a he was mentally challenged. And so I now said, these are the things I am experiencing.
So, and where motherhood is concerned, where are you? Like, is it something that you would still like to experience? Is it something that you now trauma ya go luza ngwana o feel gore I don't want to put myself through that again? How do you feel about motherhood right now?
I think that's something I haven't really addressed. Because whenever people ask me that, I've never seen myself have an answer. Like, I can't jump and say, oh yeah, I'd have another child. You understand? It's always like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I've gone through so much. And for me, I made it by chances. So I'm not sure what I would try, but it's not something that would just come instantly.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, Modimo is meant for me. It's fine with me. I'll do that. And I'm okay, because naturally and so it doesn't matter so I'm okay. But
now, you know, I think the conversation, of course, ultimately is about depression, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, when they're struggling with issues like this, you know, and I like saying, you know, it's important to share, right?
Yeah.
It's important to share. It's important to talk to someone. You know, it's important to seek help, right? So I feel we cannot overemphasize that. Of course, somebody may be triggered by this conversation. I would relate to because thing.
Yeah.
You know, I really want you once again to speak to everyone, not even just the people who feel like they're depressed, right? But a word of advice to Mojana Wenokoro is watching in this moment, where depression is concerned. Because we're only unpacking depression now. We're trying to figure out what depression is. Issues of mental health, we're only trying to learn about them right now.
Yeah.
So that I get la kgakollo, to our audience.
Hey. Kore nna ke tumela gore o bona hela o ka ipona le motho bo bona nna angry and o sa kgone go controla anger gago. It will lead to depression. It will lead to depression. If you can be hurt so much that you cry about it so many times uncontrollably, no matter you are sobbing in your own pillow and nobody's seeing you, depression in the end. Yeah. It will just take one small thing to take and you are gone.
So seek help.
Seek help. Just go to any hospital, or ask a counselor meeting, and share. Because there's always an underlying issue, or you can't put a finger to and say, mo gongwe tla bo le issues of divorce, ba bangwe le issues of loss of children, ba bangwe le issues tsa di-family backgrounds and all of that, ba sa tsere sentle ba bangwe le ditiro. Go tshwana le ha e ka re nako ntse wa bona o robetse o ganela go robala. Depression it wants to separate you from people. It wants you for itself. And the moment it gets hold of you, it says to you, kill yourself, it's the end. It tells you it's the end. Yeah, I've been there. It told me it's the end. How I made it, I don't know. But it did tell me it's the end. And I remember at one point, I wanted to call my siblings and say to them, guys, bye-bye. At that point, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Guys, I don't know how I made it. I really don't. Yeah.
By the grace of God.
Yeah.
And we thank God for your life and, your ability to share a part of yourself, even in the process of trying to rebuild yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think this is really what has come out of this. And this is really what you are also honest enough to say, I am rebuilding myself. I don't want to claim I have it all figured out. I don't want to say, but at the same time, I want to share my story because I want, first of all, for those who are going through similar situations to know they are not alone, but to also create awareness about the issue of mental health, depression, complicated grief, which is exactly what you went through.
It's painful because some people don't have strong family support system. And I think maybe that's why I made it.
You had support.
That's why I pulled through. I had a strong family support system. Yeah. So sometimes people don't have those people, unfortunately, and they're alone. Very alone. That's dangerous to say that to someone. That's why I feel like batho ba itlhelang ba ntse ba re batho ba kgotse botshelo ga ba itse. They don't know. Ga gona motho o kgotseng botshelo. Life is a beautiful thing. You wouldn't just want to hang yourself. How bona motho a tsaya that decision? No, gore so I would say to people, you need to really worry about your loved ones. As an individual, don't allow yourself or stressed kind of head. That's where it takes you. That's where it takes you. It's ratela. Ratela. And how it's a control of you. It won't let you go. So people really need to avoid issues tsa bo go thola ba robetse ba sa batle batho, because nela go tshwara ha e batlo go batla
It isolates you. It isolates you.
So the moment it does that to you, so
now, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being so vulnerable, I think we don't have enough people who are willing to talk about experiences, who are willing to share their stories before they emerge victorious. You know what I mean? Gantsi motho wa re nte ke emele gore go siame tla ga go siame be le gone ke tlang ke bua, nte ke emele gore ke bone se ke se batlang ga se ne se tla ke gone ke tla buang story sa ka no ke se share ke re ke kile ka. But I appreciate what you're doing because like I'm saying, you are a reflection of a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need to know they are not alone. People need somebody to hold their hand through it, even if it's through a conversation like this. They need to hear you say, don't let go, hold on. By the grace of God, I'm still here. So it's possible for you as well.
Yeah.
So my sister for doing this. And, I wish you healing. I wish you recovery. I don't know what that looks like. Because to be honest, we're all dealing with one thing or another, and this is really one of the reasons why we have this, because I completely believe that people are generally dealing with one thing or another. And it is through us sharing our stories that we're able to heal one another.
Yeah.
So, and once again, I wish you recovery. I wish you healing, mental, emotional, physical. God bless you, my sis.
Thank you.
And there you have it. There you have it. The issue of mental health is something that really isn't spoken enough about enough, especially candidly so, right? There's a lot of stigma around issues of mental health, and the only way we can conquer is if we talk, if we open up. And whatever it is that you may be going through, should you feel yourself slipping into that dark hole, I'm not an expert. Noah is not an expert. She was sharing her experience, but if there's one thing that, she could never overemphasize, and I'd like to reiterate it, there is help out there. Get help. It's okay to go for therapy. It's okay to seek help. Thank you so much for tuning in, and do like, comment, subscribe, share. Let us know what your thoughts are, and we look forward to you sharing your story right here on GaonaLive Conversations. Goodbye.